don't even know what Orlando is. You
Michael,
don't
where
leave.
the hell are you from?
I don't go to Florida.
Oh, so much dried fruit.
There's a huge, the whole.
Welcome back to
Buckle up, baby.
episode 27. We don't need to make a big deal about it anymore. But you know what? We broke the habit for a break for Passover, and we're still back in it. And I don't feel like it's going to disrupt us too much.
No, if anything, I think it was nice. It'll recharge us.
I started exercising slightly like a month before Passover, but I didn't do it enough times, and I didn't do it this whole week. I didn't do it this whole week, which proves like it wasn't enough. I didn't have enough of the routine in me.
I didn't even bother getting back into the routine. I'm like, I'll start after Passover. Because what are you going to do, run once? What's that going to do?
During Passover?
Or before Passover.
Pesach.
Like in the week before it. You're not going to, what are you going to do, work out twice? Like, what's the point of that? And then you're just going to be back to zero anyway.
I always find that when I'm eating clean for like a thing and trying to get in better shape, like the week before, I just say, fuck it. I always get to that point and I'm like, it's like the week before I'm going to eat bad, I eat bad. Happens a lot. On the way. I live on the way.
Interesting.
How was your Passover, Michael?
This was the first Passover with kids. I
Kids,
mean,
plural?
Not technically. Last year...
You had a baby.
We had a baby, an infant, and...
an accessory.
Yeah, and also no one was doing anything because of COVID. Like, I got my vaccine on Passover. So, like, there wasn't much to do. It was just kind of like business as usual. Yeah, this year was just constantly trying to keep busy, trying to find things to do. And it's as if Passover hardly even happened. Like, it was not an enriching experience.
Great.
Yeah.
That's so nice.
I mean, it was in a lot of ways, but it wasn't fun. It wasn't fun.
I don't think it's just you or just because you have kids. You know how like you have this experience, one has an experience, you think it's in isolation, like, oh man, we're having a rough go at this. Then you start talking to people.
Yeah.
You start talking to people, they're like, yeah. And everyone starts saying, same with us. So I have found that since like moving back to the East Coast, it's felt strange and odd and amorphous. And then the more people I talk to who've just moved are all feeling the exact same thing. I don't really know where we are right now. And I think a lot of it is like everyone's decisions were made really on the heels of COVID. And if COVID had never happened, they wouldn't be there. So being that it was so defining, everyone is a little confused right now or uncertain. So with this year's Passover, everyone was like rusty. On the Hawk, the huge scene that is like these Passover programs and stuff. And a lot of people were like, what the? You know, there's a lot of second guessing I was feeling of people saying, do we need to do this?
Well, it's so funny because during the isolation year, Passover, I thought the big takeaway was, why do we always go away? Why don't we just stay home? It's so nice. Yeah. It's such a wonderful experience. And then they went right back into it.
Yeah, so it's like a pendulum. Like I don't think people who have no family with them should just like be alone eating Seder by themselves. But the idea of the program and the one that I was on, when I was in Orlando with 1,300 Jews and in a hotel, and it's like the hotel's so big that my gut is bigger from kind of eating a lot of crap, but my calves are on fire. I was walking around so much and it's also our age demographic. Like if you look in the elevator as people in this hotel in this program, right? Depending on the age of the people you're looking at, different levels of happiness. So like the grandparents, the weather's wonderful, it's so nice. Ding. Okay, lobby, let's go. Are we dining room? Okay, let's go. Then you go one level down to like older parents with teenagers. Oh, yeah, they're good. I don't know where they are. They went off. They just got a lot of friends here. Oh, thank God, a lot of friends here. One level down, parents with little kids. We're all like this. Stop. Like everyone is like that in that age, like 30s, late 20s to late 30s with little kids is miserable. because you're out of you never want to be around luxury environmentally with
Mm-hmm.
children. You want to be at the crappiest place possible. You want to be at like Great Wolf Lodge. You want to be at something where the kids are occupied and you can just TikTok for hours. You don't want to be in a place where you would want to partake in if you were alone without them. It's the worst.
So I've never been away on a Pesach program. I
I know, Michael.
I don't know. I don't even know how to conceptualize it. What bring me back to basics. What's it? What is this thing?
Okay.
Because I looked at the halls looked massive. There was just like this cavernous place.
You followed from Yummy.
From Yummy, yeah.
My character I
You're
developed.
amazing. I told you it's the best thing you do.
The best thing I do.
Better than this podcast.
We'll have to talk about that. We'll get into what From Yummy is.
But
I will explain to you
what
the
is
evolution.
It? What is a Pesach program?
Did I step on your cable here? All right. What is a Pesach program? Okay. The evolution was, I think it. You're good, right?
Yeah.
It started in the Borscht Belt days.
Okay.
Now, why is Passover, Pesach for the.
I don't think it started in the Borscht. But okay, go ahead.
Oh,
Go
it
ahead.
did.
Go ahead.
100%.
Oh, yeah. Well, I don't know anything, so tell me.
Yeah. So, in the 1970s, I think that because Passover is the one holiday that's culinary has a lot of culinary challenges in addition to kosher. This whole idea of having to clean your whole kitchen and make it kosher for Passover is a big challenge for a lot of people. So I don't know when this originated, but it started to become customary that because people didn't want to have to turn their whole kitchens upside down and make Passover at home and have to prepare with all these different new kinds of ingredients with no bread and all that kind of stuff, people said, let's all get it catered and have somebody else do it so we can have and it's also springtime, so it's the first time things are getting warm. So it became a thing in the Orthodox Jewish community over the years where people would go to oftentimes the Catskills, where they would do programs at like these Borscht Belt hotels, the Brown Hotel, the Nevele, Falls View,
Mount Airy Lodge.
So that was early days, 70s and 80s.
Yeah.
And like grandparents, Holocaust survivors, and their kids and grandkids would all come together, and and back in the day, I remember going as a kid to these like Hamish. Like Borscht Belt style we want to look at a bunch of food. It's boiled chicken. It's delicious. Like it wasn't fancy.
Right.
It was just like a lobby, cards, old people playing cards. The tea room was chips, fruit, nuts.
The charm
look
of
at
it.
this. So much prunes. I could eat all the prunes here. And that was luxury for them. Like
And it was
dried fruit.
It was boring.
Yeah. No, it was like dried fruit, chips. Everything was just potato and like chocolate milk and matzo pizza. And then for kids, they would have day camp, which was like, playing Gaga and dodgeball. And you'd get out, and my parents loved it. We all just went to this like day camp at the Nevele, and it wasn't like luxury and ritzy. It was just that. And then like during the week for activities, they'd have, sometimes you go play paintball and you play all these other things. And like, it's a great, and you get to socialize and meet other people. And for singles, you meet other people and friends get together. And that was like, I think, the heyday of like what it's supposed to be at its max.
And this was something your parents did.
Yes.
Both sides?
No.
One side of your family.
Oh no, both. Well, my dad's parents didn't work. They were like kind of too old to like.
So you just spent
my mom's
with your
parents
mom
and me and my grandparents. And then what happened was people started going.
You never stayed home.
Probably here and there, but mostly we were always going to like these hotels or down. And then my grandparents started going to Miami Beach. That's what my grandfather. Miami Beach. We're going to Miami Beach. My grandfather called it. So that became popular too. People started going to Florida, and if that became a very popular destination spot. And even then, in the 90s, like it was sort of those like that Miami Beach Strip, Collins Avenue, of those old school retro hotels. But that was like a big scene in the 90s. That was sort of the next level.
That Eden Rock?
Yeah, Eden Rock, Fontainebleau. That was Pesach program phase 2. Right? Where they go, it's slightly better food but a ton of people, and it really max socializing, and for teenagers, preteens, teenagers, and 20s, and there was like big scene of people all hanging out by the pool, all that stuff. Yeah. That was all like Miami, and all the grandparents were still young enough back then, that first generation, the immigrant generation, to like travel down there, and they would go, and they love Florida because they were also in that like retirement age too, where they were like spending more time down there anyway. And I think phase 3, where we're at now, is Caligula, Glutton Fest, Maximum Flex. It's not like there's meals, like great meals, lunch and dinner, full course. It's constant food. like literally they need a vomit gorge at these things. Like, and it's like people going to sleep with chicken wings in their mouth. Midnight buffet. So there's lunch, and then after lunch, every day is a backyard barbecue. And then some programs bring like an NFL football player to just play with the kids. It's not dodgeball. It's a professional athlete.
Right.
So it's like just too much.
But you're not in Miami, so where are you?
So
there's like
there's different locations.
Then it's programs
so
now?
phase 3, as like second generation started to be able to like take their families out.
Yeah.
It became like, let's go international.
Like
People start going to
Morocco.
Mexico, start going to Cancun, start doing these like fancy programs. It started to get fancier and fancier. And then parts of Florida started. It wasn't just like that Miami Strip. It's like Orlando and part of the Gulf side, and they just started expanding and getting fancier and fancier. And just like, look how much food we can do. Not a lot of it's not even great. It's just like in bulk. Just like there's like a stack full of rib bones with barely any meat. You're just like, whoa. You're like, most of it's like been like laid out for a while. So you're just like, oh my God. And you're like,
And
so
the food's good?
That's what I'm saying. Not really.
Huh.
It's like a lot of it is, it's Pesach. It's Passover is all about the attempt, not the result.
Right.
It's like, oh, they made a cookie. Is it good? No, but it's a cookie. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So you're just trying to be like,
And you appreciate it for
you're
how
like,
bad it is.
It looks
almost.
off. It looks legit, but and it tastes like sand, but it's a cookie.
And it's almost like, oh, they got me. Like, this is so bad. Like, well, this is really bad.
My point is, it's even gotten to the point. I used to kind of like when I was like teenage, late like 20s, before kids. It was a fun time. You go down, you can hop around and go to these things. But like now that you're like also now that we're like raising our own kids, and I want to make sure that they stay grounded and all that. There's something about it that's the yuck factor. It's just too much. It's like what, imagine it's eating. It's the feeling of eating, no matter how good the food is. If you're not hungry and you're just stuffed and it's all gross, it's too much.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that's like it's not a problem. I'm just saying my judgment of it is this is unnecessary.
And there's set times for meals.
There is, but it doesn't really matter because now there's
constant.
Food. Like there's breakfast and second breakfast, like a hobbit. There's breakfast, but it ends, and then now the tea room, which used to be dried fruits and nuts, is omelet stations.
Oh, really?
And there's like a cow being slaughtered in the middle. No, but it's just a lot. It's just and I even for me, I'm just like, this is what is this? It's just, and now the whole spirit of it seems a little lost on people because it's like they're trying to be like, there's like vague like themes, and they try to do like Vegas night and all this other stuff, and you're just like we're trying to be classy here, but it's like does that make sense?
Yeah.
Where it's like, oh, it's like on this fancy place, and it's like golf. Oh, there was a point during it where it's like there's a golf course, and the kids all like run around on it, and people are like, can't do that. I'm like, well, what are we all doing here? Like, they're kids. Yes, they should run around and not be destructive and nasty, but like, what do you expect the kids to do? They should run around. It looks like a lawn, and like so. It's like, treat yourself if you can, and if you're in that position where you can treat yourself to like a luxurious or high end kind of thing. Don't try to like force the family dynamic of having a family with you, and like it doesn't work in a sense to me. Mm-hmm. Any other questions?
If there's entertainment.
Yeah, this is so funny, Michael. You know nothing about this.
I really don't.
Bal Tshuva. Basically, yeah, and then every night it's like, oh, we have this person, and then we have this cover band and this thing, and some of them are like, what is this? And it used to be, you bring a comedian for the Jews. We all laugh. We have a comedian, a magician, a hypnotist.
Yeah.
But in the spirit of the old day and the Borscht Belt days, obviously being home and making it home is one thing that I think it could be very special. But at least in those days, yes, you bring it in, but it seems like homegrown. It seems of the community, now it seems like,
But
what?
Well, this is the community.
Now
I guess it's not from within the community, but this is what the community looks like now.
Yeah,
this is how they vacation.
Yes, in a sense, sure. And I just think at a certain point, there's a over the topness to it. Which
would you go back if there was a Catskills program? Would you go with your family?
I don't know. At this point, I have nostalgia for that, but I don't know if it's right for me now. I'm sure there is. I think there still is stuff.
There probably is.
But again, like, you look at things differently. Like, as a 15, 16-year-old, it was the best. I don't know if as a 35-year-old I would like it or it would be right or fitting. you know, I'm also like hanging with the camp counselors. Like as a teenager, you're hanging with all the camp counselors who are like in college, and you're like a senior in high school. So it's a different thing, and that's a different fun. It's a different fun.
And so what's the
and
problem?
you'd have Seder in a big dining room with a lot of people.
But what's the problem with kids? Like, it sounds great for kids because there's constant activity, there's constantly things to do. There's like constant like family around to help watch them. There's constantly food.
Yeah,
and
you're
stuff.
kind of doing your own thing because everything is so scattered and all over the place, so that could be challenging. And it's just that there is a lot of stuff. Kids have a great time, but you also sometimes risk like people coming up and saying, "More eggs," and like you see this like, "Can I have another one, please?" Or not. I said, "Please." It's not please. Another one. Can I have more? Like you're going up to, there's a lot of service and people asking for things and stuff. And I'm like bad mouthing like crazy, but whatever, you know what I mean? So it sets a weird entitlement example, which is a little bit of a challenge.
Okay.
And also you're head staff as the parent. You're not just like, bye. If your kids are like teenagers and completely autonomous, fine. But when they're little, you're bathing them and then the whole floor of this nice hotel room is filled with egg noodles.
Right. Well, I mean, the challenge at home, though, is like, how are you going to kill 4 hours in the house and then clean up and then find something to do when it's cold out and like all that? Isn't it just easier compared to being home? Wouldn't it just be easier to be home? I mean, to not be home?
I guess it depends on like, yeah, you're looking at the daunting task of like 3 days.
Like, how do we fill? Yeah.
So I don't think people should be like alone. What about like, you know, being with people is good.
I'm not talking about being alone.
Yeah.
I don't see.
You're like miles away from the mic.
I don't see how the hotel experience is worse than being home. You were like complaining about it. Like I'd rather not even been doing this. But the alternative isn't better.
Yeah, I just picture walking around endlessly for hours on end with a stroller and a screaming baby through a hotel for days, without their routine and comforts of like being able to like just. Or like you lose a passy or a blankie and it's 4 miles away, so you have to like go get it.
I'd like to try.
I know it seems like a grass is greener thing.
Do you go to the beach and stuff? Like, do you leave the hotel?
It's Orlando, Florida. It's Orlando.
I don't even know what Orlando is.
Michael,
you don't
where the
leave,
hell are you from?
I don't go to Florida.
Oh, you don't go to Florida.
No, I don't go to Florida.
Orlando is not beach. It's near all the parks. That's why people go. They go to the parks.
I didn't know that.
And the parks are miserable experiences.
I didn't know that.
Miserable.
I went
It's stroller apocalypse at Disney World and all these places. It costs thousands of dollars to go. And then you go and like you wait hours and hours on lines and the kids don't need to be there. They don't care. They're just like, some of it's magical and nice, but most of the time they'd rather play at home in a cardboard box with their cousins. Mm-hmm. And you're just like, come on. Most of the parents at these parks look like this. It's boiling hot. Mm-hmm. We did one year, which was fun, where we took them at night, like as the sun was setting. So it was like cooled off and there was like less lines and stuff. But most of that stuff is just, people go because they feel they have to.
Yeah.
You have that. It's really that experience. At least the parks part is we have to. And then people have spent lots of money, so it's a lot of pressure. Yeah. So no one's happy because they're complaining because they felt like they deserve more. There's a big element of that where you look around at some of these things and it's hard. It's like, I don't remember a lot of complaining at all back in the day. Maybe I was too not aware of it. But in the Borscht Belt, like Catskills days, it's simple. This is always, have a dried apricot.
Yeah.
You're not expecting much, so whatever. And the more and more pressure you put on yourself for it has that pressure to it. But why is it so difficult? I guess it just depends on how, well, for us, like our baby was really, really challenging too.
It looks like you were in charge of the baby. Is that how it worked?
Yeah, I filmed a lot of it, so it seemed that way. But in general, I guess it's only as easy as your easiest kid, and he was very out of sorts, so that made it challenging in particular. But it's also just like you're out of your element, and you're like running a tour for your family. Yeah, you're working when you're like traveling and doing things. You're packing this up, making sure that you're just working. It's not just like sitting back and doing nothing. Right.
I hear it. I don't feel bad for you, but I hear it.
You don't have to feel bad. You asked me to describe it to you.
Yeah.
It sounds like I don't know how it comes across. I'm just telling you the truth. Yeah. And I'm telling you the age demographic that I'm at. Like I knew people there who had teenage kids who were like totally relaxed. Right. Like, oh, I don't know where they are. I'll see them later. But when you have like little kids, it's much more challenging.
Sarah and I were in France once, and we were there for Shabbos. Mm-hmm. and we went to this like restaurant for Shabbos dinner, and we met this couple, like this relatively young couple. They were like 50, like straight up 50, and they were also there, and we were talking with them, and they were saying that their oldest is now out of the house. She's like in college.
Right.
They were 50 years old. Their oldest is now in college, and so everything they planned, you know, they had kids when they were like 18. They were this like religious couple from like New York.
Yeah.
Everything they had planned to do when they were like 18, you know, in their 20s, now, you know, that's the plan, right? We'll have kids young, and then we'll be young enough to enjoy our retirement.
That's the move for a certain.
So they were talking about how like they rented this really nice car, and they were driving down the Autobahn, you know, as fast as they can, and like this was their dream, and now they're doing it. And I remember Sarah and I being struck by how sad it was, of like their whole plan was to like live their life once their kids were out of the house, and like this is kind of all they can think of doing, and like it seems like they kind of just rather be at home with their kids anyway, where I don't remember exactly where I was going with it, but like the idea of being like parents to teenagers in these places and just sort of being able to enjoy yourself, I guess sounds like a nice fantasy. I wonder if you'll look back at this and be like, that was the good stuff. You know what I mean? Like
100%.
What exactly?
I'm
are you
not
looking
really
forward
complaining to you.
Yeah.
As
No,
much as
I know you're not. It's just
I'm not even saying.
just a
I heard.
conversation.
So it's true. Like I think this is the good stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, I'm just saying, who's it easier for? Who's it like meant for? Because as much as like this is the good stuff, it's not ideal to put yourself in these scenarios that make it really difficult and challenging. As much as like, who does it serve well, and who does it create obstacles for when you're at this? And I could tell you just the elevator test, when you're looking at people who are like based on the rate of the quality of experiences that people are having. You know, you have like grandparents who are having the best time. They're watching all their grandkids. They're having a great old time. They're loving all of it. And then like parents with the older kids are also semi-relaxed because they don't have to do as much work. I'm not saying across the board at that period of life they're crushing. Each period is like what's optimal. I'm just saying in this week's 7 to 10 day period, who does this suit best? Because it doesn't suit everybody best. And then it goes in reverse. Once you pass the age of the parents with little kids and you go younger, then it gets even better. Then it's like, oh, people with no kids you're just free to really enjoy everything it has to offer and not have to worry about it and have full independence. So it goes in reverse.
There's probably just a very small window because your kids will be old enough. You'll have fun for a couple of years, and then you start taking care of your parents on these things.
Yeah, I don't think it's that small of a window. I think it's like once your youngest kid is like 6 or 7 and everybody else like 6 to like 15, whatever it may be, the range, as long as the youngest kid doesn't need to be taken care of, then you're probably in a good sweet spot for a few years. I'm just saying we weren't there. I was just giving you the honest assessment. Yeah. I did see like a TikTok or something, which was valid, and I agree with it, where it was like, whenever you're stressed about, oh my God, the house is a mess and everything is so in disarray and the kids are going crazy. And he's like, and I looked at my wife and I said, honey, there's going to be a time when there is no mess. There's going to be a time when there is no noise. There's going to be a time when everything is perfectly set up the way it's supposed to be. And the kids will be all grown up and be out of the house and it will be quiet. So I think you should appreciate the mess that we have now. You know, like there'll be a time when it's all gone. Yeah. So I'm fully on board. Like, this is the good stuff. There's no question. And I know, like, in the moment, I actually don't take it for granted. I'm never like, oh, I just want them to be all great. I don't. I think it's the best. Yeah. It is the best.
I started when...
Doesn't mean that certain situations are less optimal than others. When my calves are on fire.
When my daughter is, like, clamoring for my attention, and, like, I have to, like, entertain her, I try to think now about how, like, there's a pretty short window where she's going to want my attention. Yeah. And, like, most of our life are going to spend her, like, pushing me away. Yeah. So I'm like, enjoy it, that you can make her laugh.
Correct. That noise, all the noise, all that stuff is the best stuff. Right. I think it is. I really do. Like, I really do. Anyway, that's Pesach in a nutshell. Yeah. That is Passover. I hope I didn't, like, just, like, desanctify the whole Jewish community.
Desanctify?
What? How do you say Chilul Hashem in...
give a bad impression of... Yeah.
There's a word. There's a word. But I don't want to do that. I'm talking about my people and our experiences. And I
don't think you said anything. I mean, you could have done a lot worse.
Right.
You could have done a lot worse.
Right.
Yeah.
I I mean, they were swinging. No. So in general, there's just something about it that I wonder if you're in the right with the right people in the right kind of setting, you could do this kind of thing and it can be a nice thing.
Yeah.
But at the point where you're now like just like I don't know, there's something about the idea of eating a fancy steak when you're not hungry.
Well, that's the whole part.
That's when you're starving and you can get a great steak. That's a great thing. But if you're full, you get a great steak, you take a bite of it and toss it. There's something wrong to me.
There's there's a big part of the,
oh wow, that's 3 in a row.
Here, I live in Teaneck, and I hear everyone from outside of Teaneck has a very strong opinion about what Teaneck is, what the Jewish community is in Teaneck. Some people think Teaneck is the most boring, vanilla, like poor, not poor, relatively poor compared to like Long Island. I think someone called it economically diverse. Like they think it's like the Sears in the mall of Judaism. Some people
very sad.
If you go outside New York though, they think New York is Teaneck is like the richest Jappy Jews. Within that, then some people think Teaneck's super religious. Some people think Teaneck. If you talk to Hasidim, they think Teaneck is like super modern. They like hardly even eat kosher. They can do whatever they want, whatever. So just saying. So from the time I grew up in Teaneck as like a kid till I was like a teenager, what exists now, like you were saying, didn't exist. Like it just didn't exist. Like these lavish,
it didn't exist then.
Wealthy things didn't exist
in the 90s. I'm saying 90s was phase 2. Right, Miami Beach,
and that's still where I am. I've never dipped my toe into the evolution of like where the Jewish community has like come, and I don't know from it. Like I don't know, but I do know that like this mindset of like, even if you're not ultra wealthy, like seeking these ultra wealthy, luxurious experiences, and like that all exists. Like for a lot of people, that's what being Jewish is. Sort of, that's like what the community is, and like the thing where like you're wearing like really nice suits and really nice glasses and like spitzy, yeah. And I'm so far removed from that, and like I'm so glad I'm far removed from that.
You look like shit, and I know that. That's why. Yes.
I don't even know what I'm saying about it. I guess I'm just like thinking out loud that like there's been an evolution, and I've like totally sat back on it.
But that's not just like modern Orthodox. Every denomination across the board, and I guess modern Orthodox and to the right, has like leveled up on nice things. Like Jewish,
but it's not nice. It's
Jewish food. Yeah. Everyone's like artisanal. Oh, you should have this. Like everybody's taste has gotten a little more like ooh. Like if you talk to like Chabad Lubavitch, like they like fancy shoes and socks and
so here,
coffee.
Maybe
and
here's my point. I wonder if it has anything to do with the taste, or if it just has to do with the experience of feeling like you're rich. Like how good does the food taste versus how luxurious is the experience. It's like exactly what you're saying about the Pesach program. There's a ton of food, but none of it actually tastes good. The people with the good taste, I bet you, are going elsewhere. The community is not about taste. It's about the presentation. I don't know. I don't know what else I don't really know what I'm saying.
I can't tell you what like the motivations are behind it. Yeah. I just think it's I honestly don't think it's like a showing off kind of thing where people feel feel boosted by it. Yeah. I think it just kept getting. I think it's just one of the things that kind of like went off the rails. But like this year we're gonna have this. Oh, cool! And then this and the competitiveness between the programs and everyone. All the caterers are making all their money on like this 1 week. So they're all over the years just pushing and pushing and pushing, and we're just along for the ride.
But people
are like, okay,
it only works because there's a market for it, though.
Yes,
yeah.
I get it, but I just think it's like when people get used to something, then you gotta like level it up, and over time, it's not like people are like demanding it necessarily. Yeah. Or like feel necessarily anything other than it just keeps pushing and pushing. People's threshold keeps getting higher and higher for like what's outrageous.
Yeah.
So like it's a matter of degree. Like at first it was so much dried fruit. Look at that was amazing.
Right.
And then it's like, okay, let's do dried fruit and maybe some hot food in the tea room. Ooh, a hot dessert. And then it's like, what if we had savory food? What if we actually, and then it just keeps going.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I don't know how conscious of a thing it is or whatever.
Yeah.
And it's just like, that's what I think has happened over the years.
Yeah.
Anyway.
It is interesting. I don't know. I don't even know.
But
what it means.
We'll take you in it. We'll join us next year.
Yeah.
How about that? Well,
I'd like to go. I would love to go on one of these.
Yeah.
No, actually, I take that back. I wouldn't love to
You'd like
go,
to
but
visit.
I'd love to check it out.
I think you just like to visit for.
I'd like to go away
stint.
for Passover. Sounds
Yeah,
great.
Yeah. Okay. Enough of the inside baseball.
How many people do you think we lost on that one?
Oh my God. In other news, you're following what's going on with. First of all, have you following the Johnny Depp Amber Heard trial?
I've been sitting it out.
Oh my God.
What is it? What's going on?
It's worth watching because I think this woman, Amber Heard,
Mm-hmm.
Johnny Depp's ex-wife, they're now in litigation over a defamation suit in which she had claimed that she suffered for years sexual assault from Johnny Depp and domestic violence and all these things, and it supposedly damaged his career and canceled him for a time period or whatever. But she is single-handedly ending the Me Too movement with her case.
What's going on?
It's so obvious that she is the epitome of a manipulative, narcissistic liar.
How is that obvious?
You just watch the trial and you see all the evidence being presented, and what she did was for years secretly recorded him to try to get him in gotcha moments. And her audio is so obviously manipulative, like she's trying to say, like, why would you do, well, you know, but aren't you gonna, what, you don't want to hit me? Like, she's like trying to bait him and trying to do things. He's like, what are you talking about, Amber? Why, this isn't real life? Why are you acting like this? And she's like, I don't know, we were just having this fight, Johnny, and it was like really intense. And we were having this fight, and then it just got so out of hand. And she's like recording him. And like she puts a little phone here to try to capture video. Why are you acting like this, Johnny? You're acting so angry. I'm not. It has nothing to do with you. I had a morning, and it's a difficult. It doesn't involve. And then he's kind of his moments where like not pretty moments where he loses temper, but he's never hitting her. There's no assault or anything. But she's like trying to say, we were having this conversation, and you just started getting all violent. What do you mean violent? What are you talking? And then there's this audio that's released where she goes, oh yeah, and he now claims he was a victim of domestic violence. She threw like a bottle at his hand and cut his finger, and she sits there like these facial expressions. This woman was just brought on to testify to her PTSD. And she's like, she exhibited way too many symptoms to be really having PTSD. Most patients exhibit 3 out of the 20, and she claimed to have 18, which is unprecedented. Even the most damaged soldiers and veterans don't experience. So there's all this stuff, and she's sitting there like, you know how you can just tell? I'm sorry. Like, you can tell.
But my question is, why would if it's
and
so
the public
obvious,
is so against
if
her.
it's so obvious to you that she was manipulating it, why did she bring it as evidence in the case? Wouldn't it hurt her?
I think my gut tells me, this is all gut. I don't really know all the facts. All I know is I'm reading comments and public coverage of it, and there's a hashtag justice for Johnny kind of thing.
Really?
Yeah.
Like on both sides, or is that like
no? It's all him. Everything I've seen is pro him. Like this poor guy has been abused and you can tell like what she's she would get him. He would get drunk and then she put like ice cream in his hand and had it drip all over him and like took a picture of it and like had it and presented it. He's like, you can see I clearly wasn't eating the ice cream. I had my hand in my pocket, and her lawyers are just awful. They're like, and so you're saying it's her fault that this photo happened? He goes, she snapped it. and he's like, and if you just watch this case, it's so the public outcry in support of him is very much on one side, and I think she probably assumed, just like the rest of the Me Too stuff that was going on, I'm the woman. I'm gonna get what I want.
Well, that's what I had heard. I'd read articles saying that he was like a psychopath.
That
monster.
was then, and now we're in the current.
So it was working for a while. I guess,
so that's what I'm saying. And then what they do is they're playing these like 2-second pieces of audio in her support, where it's like stop, and they get off, and they clip it, and everyone's like finish the tape and finish because whatever. There's like a crowd
going like finish the tape, and judge is like I'll allow it,
and then her lawyers keep like interrupting Johnny Depp's testimony.
Yeah,
like hearsay, objection, hearsay, and the judge goes, you asked the question, counsel. You can't object to your own question. I'm sorry, and like it's one of those things where like evidence is like, you know, you can present the evidence, you can come to a conclusion, but as a human being, we all know people like this.
Yeah.
Everyone's met people like her in their life. Just like when you see just like when you were hearing about like these douchey, nasty, violent, aggressive guys, you know, we met people like that, and you can see it when in their body language and everything. In this case, you can see it, and it's like single-handedly like showing you that. I think the whole campaign is like of hashtag believe all women, all that stuff that was very pro, you know, to make for that correction in the Me Too era is now swinging back. I don't know if it's the opposite extreme, but the other way, because you're seeing a full support for Johnny Depp across the board. And everyone's like, this woman. And on Joe Rogan, they were talking about, Joe Rogan was talking to Jesse Kirsten. He was like, she's crazy. She's a psychopath, what she was trying to do to him, and like secretly filming him and secretly trying to get him on camera and secretly trying to record audio of him talking. And in the audio, she's saying things that happened that to try to insinuate that a event took place, which didn't. You know? We were just talking before, Johnny. Who talks like that when they're in a fight? Right. We were just talking before, and then you started just getting all angry. Why are you so angry?
Yeah.
You know,
it's like an Entourage whenever. If you ever watch Entourage, they're always saying the other characters' names. Like, Johnny, what are you talking about? Yeah. Come on, E. Yeah. Like, no one ever, you don't say someone else's name when you talk like that. Right, it's like this performative way to speak.
Yeah. If you watch the clips circulating all over YouTube. Is it
being televised?
Yeah, there's
clips. The whole trial is being televised?
Yeah, only federal court, I think, is drawn.
Oh.
Every other court you can film and release footage.
Well, good for Johnny Depp. He's got a really good looking movie coming out soon, so maybe it'll be good for him.
Yeah. All I'm saying is awesome. It gives you also perspective that like these celebrities living these high and mighty lives often have to, you know, never want to trade places with anybody because his life was so miserable for so many years. Yeah. And he was like, this is not life. I said to myself, this is not life. This can't be real. And he has this... the funny bit I'm developing out of it, watching it, is that he's so sexy and Johnny Deppy that I think maybe the support is just like, he could say anything. Well, I did assault her, but I was very gentle when I did it. We love you, Johnny. There's a lot of like, we love Johnny Depp. Like, there's a lot of fangirling and fanboying for Johnny Depp, which isn't based on evidence or anything. But if you just watch this thing and then you watch like her try to like be sad, like it's, as a human being, you know how we can detect when people are something's not right? And you can just tell that she's a narcissist and has been lying and manipulating him for years to try to, I don't know, get something out of it. It's crazy. It's crazy to watch.
Maybe I'll check it out. It's pretty interesting because I really had just jumped to conclusions about him without understanding any of this. I mean, I think everyone did. I mean, that was the common.
I don't remember the initial
conventional thinking. I don't know. I remember reading an article in Rolling Stone that profiled him, saying he was totally out of his mind and abusing his girlfriend. Right. And like his career's over, basically.
Right. So now it's
wild.
It's come back around, and his lawyer was like, "No, in the selection in question in the footage, Mr. Depp, you're seen pouring yourself a mega pint of wine," and Johnny Depp goes, "A mega pint?" Just like, and the crowd is laughing, and the audience is like the jurors and everybody's like, he's like, "A mega pint," like as if that's a real measurement, like calling the lawyer out on all this. Stuff. The lawyer's trying to do his job, but he's doing a terrible job. They're making her look awful. Right. And they're just like, what else did they say? There's clips, viral clips all over of like the worst. I
really like when I saw that. I'm back on Twitter now because why did I go back on Twitter? Oh, to promote the newsletter. And Twitter is just it's such a nasty little thing. I can't stay off it now. And I've been seeing a ton of that stuff. And I very intentionally was like, nope.
Well, Michael, it's about to get better.
I am not. Yeah. So let's talk about it.
Okay. And now I guess we'll wrap on this because this is huge news.
Yeah. What a boring podcast.
This one?
I wonder if people like this one.
Sometimes you think it's so boring and it feels like it has been. I'm bored as fuck right now.
You didn't get me coffee. I asked you to get me coffee.
No, I think it's fine. We're getting back into the swing. But But anyway, check out the Johnny Depp trial. It's well worth the watching.
I don't think I'm going to, but okay.
All right. It's just...
That's why I listen to this podcast. Now I know.
I just think universally it makes people realize that in the campaign for self-correction during the Me Too movement, everyone was like the hashtag, no matter what, any accusation is valid. Then you see her and you see what's going on and you go, okay, wait. We should try to make sure... because it's very resonant with people, like not people coming out of the woodwork talking about the toxic relationships.
So I was gonna say they could call it the Aziz Ansari effect, but I think that's the Aziz Ansari effect is probably when like you're accused of something bad, but it's not like really as bad as like as everyone's saying is. Then I guess being Johnny Depp is like being accused, but the person accusing you is like clearly crazy and has no basis to stand on.
Villain, right? Right. Aziz was more like
it's more like let's
trying
hold
to
our
ride
horses
that.
here.
It was trying to ride the wave,
Right.
but it didn't make him look great.
Right. But
best case scenario, you were a douche, not an asshole, not a villain, not evil, just douchey.
Yeah.
And so that's not something you want either. In this case, Johnny Depp seems like the victim.
Yeah.
Or was really abused.
Yeah.
And we're all like, okay, we have to just try to be more careful now on jumping to any conclusions.
Yeah. But Elon
I
Musk.
just did like crazy. But the Elon. So I try to catch myself on that. Like, am I just doing the same thing in reverse, jumping to? But like, it's hard to watch. You can see on the Elon Musk buying Twitter thing. I think it's important for us to give our take on it.
People want to know. People want to know in 2 weeks.
I've been rambling on so much about Passover crap. What's your take? Do you care?
I do care. I do care. I've been listening. My take on this is always like more from tech and business perspective and less from a culture perspective. And like I sent out in my newsletter this week like a really good podcast about it, where like the conventional thinking is sort of, Twitter. It's not like a novel take, but Twitter was never a good business. And like it's if you have the incentives that making it into a big business make the product a lot worse. I mean, basically, think about Twitter compared to Facebook. Like, think about how much Facebook has changed since 2004 when you first started using it. It's a completely different thing.
People don't post anymore because it's all ad, bait, and switch crap.
No. I'm just talking about from a product experience. You sitting on Facebook. Yeah. If you looked at it from 2004, you'd laugh. It's like it's a whole different thing. Twitter, if you looked at it from whenever 2009, it's pretty much the same. So just thinking about how big of a failure it is from that end of like they haven't evolved the product in 12 years. Like there's something wrong with that, like as a company. So just as a company, Twitter is sort of like a bit of a failure. But why necessarily does Elon Musk think he has all the answers? Like, he doesn't know how to run a social media company. And what he's gonna find is that moderating speech to any degree is complex. Like, we all agree we don't want spam, right? We don't want a ton of
complex. Is that what you said?
Complex, yeah.
You said is complex.
Did I say it's complex? It's complex.
Is complex.
It's complex.
Is complex.
No, it's complex. It's a big structure.
Complex.
It's a big structure.
Yeah,
it's
complex is like a whole thing. Complex.
It's complex.
The enunciation on the plex is very
it's
important.
Complexicated.
Yeah. Complex.
Yeah, no, it's complex. Meaning like
it's complex.
He doesn't think that every single bit of speech should be there. He doesn't think that scams should be able to target anybody and say, click this link.
Well, we don't know that yet, Michael.
I'm saying that there's going to be some degree of moderation, and like it's a very complicated, complex problem that I don't necessarily think Elon Musk is going to have the answers for. That's like kind of on one end. But then I think the more interesting way to talk about it is you can't really talk about any of this without talking about like Web3 and crypto and what Jack
Conti.
No, what's his name? Jack
Harlow.
The guy, Jack, the former CEO, the founder.
Jack Conti is Patreon. Jack Dorsey.
Jack Dorsey has sort of been like talking a lot about, which is basically Twitter should be decentralized and owned by the users. And I think the coolest outcome for all of this is Elon takes it public, takes it private, and totally reimagines Twitter as a protocol. So the same way HTTP is like the protocol for websites, meaning anyone can use HTTP www and make a website. That's not owned by anyone. Anyone can just do that and make any kind of website they want. SMTP is how email works. So anyone can just use the email guts and make like a new app. Like it could look like Gmail, it could look like Yahoo Mail, it could look like Outlook or whatever mail you want it to look like. That's for everyone to use. So what the techie people are saying is Twitter needs to become a protocol. It'll be privately owned, but basically anybody can take the Twitter guts and make it into anything they want. So if I want a Twitter with a ton of hate speech on it, I can go to hatespeech.twitter.com and get my algorithm on Twitter and let the market decide. Like you say people want moderation. Let's see. Any developer anywhere can make their own algorithm, pull in all of Twitter, and give it to people the way they want it. And let's see what people want. And then above that is not even just tweets, but like the protocol for sending short messages to anybody's phone in the whole world. Basically, when I tweet, you get a little notification on your phone. What if when I did something besides tweet, you got a little notification on your phone? Like it's kind of this massively useful network that can be utilized for like a lot of really good. It just can't be utilized in that way as a public company. And so hopefully what Elon Musk is going to do, sort of with Jack Dorsey's guidance, is like bring Twitter back to the people.
Jack left a while ago. Is that what happened? And now
He
he's
left.
back?
He got replaced as CEO. But after he got replaced as CEO, he's kind of been commenting on kind of we fucked up. Like Twitter and Facebook fucked up. And like what we should have done is not taken all this money and all that and like freed the world through the internet. But now
he's a real idealist.
He's a real idealist, and he's kind of been putting his 2 cents in. And that's what I hope happens.
Did you hear that they're moving between headquarters to Mars? Because that's going to be... What if he started losing it? What? Yes, we're going to be moving Twitter headquarters to Mars.
He could lose it.
Here's the thing.
No one would.
How do you think he... Like, I can picture him laying in bed next to, I don't know, significant...
He just got divorced.
Yeah.
Wonder what that had to do with it.
What about Twitter? Or he's like scrolling on Amazon, searches. Twitter. Like, I want to buy a car, a small car, Tesla, and Twitter. Yeah. So.
I wonder why no one's talking about though.
What?
No, like you said.
So here's my I'll say my take on everything you just said, because that was real technical stuff that you're interested in, like the product. I've heard.
I think it's the only thing that matters. Everything else is bullshit.
No, the cultural effects matter
it's
the
all
most.
but it doesn't, because it's all bullshit.
No, because here's why it's not. Do you know Douglas Murray?
Yeah.
Oh, what's the eye roll, Michael?
No, I'm saying like all the rhetoric around like I saw Ben Shapiro's like just like there's a million takes that people use to get themselves attention now, but none of that stuff is concrete.
Twitter, I've heard, let's say this, as much as the product has been stagnant over the years, okay, it is single-handedly the most important social media platform. And I'm saying it in a funny voice, but it's the most like ubiquitous and has the most social and political impact of all the other platforms, which are more about entertainment and sharing and social. But Twitter actually has been shown historically to have the most social and political. Let's accept that for argument's sake. I don't know, but let's say even with its lack of updates and staying with the times, it has had the most social and political impact. Therefore, things like the Hunter Biden laptop story, where the New York Post tried to put out a story and it was actively restricted from being shared on Twitter by content moderators, obviously in favor of Biden winning the election. They didn't want to do it, and it's all come out to light now that they did that. Had real effects, because if that story did circulate, I'm not saying it would have done it, but you don't know what kind of big stories. You know, we see things that go viral and go crazy, and the mob gets the Twitter mob can sway things. They could put people in jail. They can ruin people's careers. All these kinds of things that was squashed actively by Twitter. You couldn't share it. You couldn't like it. You couldn't do anything. They literally would not allow it to circulate on Twitter. That's just not like a fun cultural Ben Shapiro sparring conversation. Those are real things. And Twitter was doing that to tons of conservative voices out there and silencing those things. And Elon Musk's approach to free speech is super important, because it feels like the way Joe Rogan described it, it's like a real life superhero. We have like a real life superhero coming in. And the fact that these people on the left, the woke left of Twitter, are running screaming, saying it's over, I'm deactivating, is so revealing of the cultural, of the decay of liberal values and principles on the left. They're like, all he's saying is, I believe everyone should be on Twitter, who even my critics. And they're saying, ah! And then you have like Brian Stelter on CNN saying, oh, what? So people should just be able to talk freely? Ah! And it's like, it demonstrates how out of touch all of that is.
So that's the take, though, that I find so boring and not interesting, because we've been talking about that for the last 2 years. So now it's like another opportunity. Let's talk again about how the left doesn't like free speech, and like they're right to like it's just another like
but it's not a
jumping
circular
off
thing,
point.
This is
like who cares?
It's a massive step in favor.
Maybe you have no idea. First of all, why Elon Musk might be a superhero. He might also be like Jeff Bezos, who wants to own a media arm. Like Jeff Bezos owns the Washington Post.
Don't speak about Daddy Elon that way.
Yeah, now Elon Musk owns a media
agree.
company.
I'm just saying,
like we don't know what his intentions are.
It's just the moment that something fundamental could change that's really important,
right,
in the discourse. And for you to say that's boring is fucked up.
No. The boring part is rehashing how much the left hates free speech. No, I'm not
saying rehashing. I'm saying
that's all anyone's
to relish
doing.
In the moment that we have in front of us, where we all thought it was a foregone conclusion. Twitter and this whole big tech control of and siding with big government and big pharma to squash dissenting opinions. This is the first victory on the other side of that.
Yeah, but how is, like, Elon Musk is also...
Have you been seeing these hilarious tweets by these conservatives who are like, ivermectin is a wonder drug, just testing the new normal? It's hilarious because they're just like throwing out all these tweets that would otherwise get flagged, and they're just saying like, the 2020 election was rigged. I mean, they're just saying whatever they want to say to test the waters. And to me, it's amusing because I find it funny. But like that they're doing that to like just sort of, I don't understand how instantaneous it is. It's like he announces I bought it.
It's definitely
so
not.
I'm just like, that's why I'm laughing about it.
Yeah.
I'm like, the whole thing feels so like a game. Yeah. I'm like enjoying that.
I saw a cool tweet by Walter Isaacson, I think, who's writing his biography on Musk. He said the night after Elon Musk bought Twitter, he sat through like a 4-hour meeting about the like rocket boosters at SpaceX. Okay. And not a single, I think he said it was like an 8-hour meeting, and not a single person mentioned Twitter the entire time. He's like, this guy can multitask. I wouldn't be worried about it. Right. Which I think is interesting. But meaning like he didn't go to Twitter the next day and was like, all right, like change that button. You know what I mean? Like it's going to be this whole this process.
But what were you saying so why is that? Why are you downplaying that?
Because the 24-hour news cycliness of it is like it's not, we have no idea who Elon Musk really is. And like we're gonna find out who he really is, and like we have no idea what his ability to change what his capability is, meaning to make it like truly free speech without abuse and like hate. Like
you're also like he'll run into the same problems the other people.
That's kind of what I'm saying, and it's a boring problem.
But publicly, he's a public figure. What he says does have impact, and he has influence. And the point of it is, it's not that I'm getting all, yay, it's all going to be peachy and exactly the way we want it. But in this moment, you rarely get these moments that shed light and clarity on where the playing field is. In other words, the fact that people are online protesting this, hating on the hate he's getting, I think speaks volumes to about what his critics really stand for and what they want. They want to control the narrative.
Yeah, but that whole, it's just playing into, like, even talking about it is playing into the culture war of like.
But the culture war is real. You don't think it's real. You think it's just pretend.
No, I just think it's a distraction. I think it's a distraction. Like I think there are more interesting conversations to have.
You're just particularly not interested in the culture war conversation.
I'm not interested because I think it's not substantial, and it's distracting us from real problems.
Yeah, but
like climate change. No, I'm serious. I'm serious.
Somebody get him the fuck out of here.
No, I'm serious. It's just like culture, Twitter is a waste of time.
Twitter itself, but
that's what Twitter is.
No, but if culture is sort of at the foundation, I think, of everything. Everything stems out of people's initial feelings towards things. Mm-hmm. So when there's a cultural backlash against free speech that eventually leads to political backlash against free speech. Because if you get enough people within a culture to feel a certain way, they start voting a certain way, then you have the extension of that is politics, and then you start to all of a sudden have these authoritarian fascist leaders who are trying to shut down dissenters with the support of mass media behind them, and you're like, how did this happen? And you're saying, I don't want to talk about it.
No, I'm saying...
So it's important to be culturally aware of like what is going on. Because I think it all matters. It's not a distraction. One feeds into the other. They're all interrelated.
I think it's important to be aware and then kind of like step back from it. Like
I'm not talking about Twitter itself, but I'm saying Twitter's representing the fact that there are so many people who find free speech problematic. Is very weird.
Just for me, like the Elon Musk thing happens, and then like there are two people, Ben Shapiro goes on to like own the libs on Twitter and say like, well, if they really believed in free speech, like sort of like this incendiary sort of like fight that he's gonna start, and then there's the people that go on and talk about like Twitter as a product and like and what issues Elon Musk is going to run into. And just like, to me, like,
Oh, I thought you were
like,
going to say then there's the opposite of Ben Shapiro's who say this is about white supremacy.
no. I'm just saying that whole like take on it is just like great. Like go
It's predictable.
fight. Like go fight.
You're saying it's predictable.
It's predictable and just nothingness and like it's just, I'm just so sick of it. I'm just so sick of it. And like,
Are you satisfied at all that CNN Plus failed? Come on.
Yeah, I'm super satisfied. But then you go on, then Crystal and Cigar, even they I'm so like, my mind is blown by Crystal and Cigar. How like, remember I said at the beginning they're gonna become these like characters of themselves.
Yeah.
All they talk about is how shitty CNN Plus is and how overjoyed they are that it failed and like they had it coming and they bought an NFT of like CNN Plus on its first day. It's like so like what the fuck does that have to do with the news? Like they've gone so far down their own rabbit hole. I'm like, watch, just bring up today's list of videos. They sound crazy. they're petulant. They're like little kids, like laughing at CNN Plus, and it's fun. It's fun.
They're human beings. They're entertainers.
It's fun. It's fun for 30. It's fun for 30
it.
seconds. But I'm just saying,
You're saying their
like,
brand has become anti-establishment media, and like that's what they do.
No, it's not even just a brand. Their content has become
everything that they
all
do.
they talk about is like
how they're not the.
It's how they're not media established. How they're fighting it, and how stupid they are, and how old they are, and how old everyone. And I'm saying that whole conversation is just so, I'm just so sick of it. And like, this is a really interesting thing that happened. And there's so many interesting ways to talk about and things to talk about. And just the like right versus left of it is like, I just think the least interesting part of it.
Here's the thing. Here's the thing. I didn't listen to anything you just said. No, I did. Don't you think none of this would be an issue if the intolerant left of social media just was okay with other people's opinions? Because I think there's just an appetite for these fights, and they'd find someone to fight with anyway. Maybe, but I'm just saying the animosity oftentimes is left-wing establishment media being hostile towards the dissenting opinions of the right. Or I'm saying, I'm using the terms loosely, but in other words, the people I don't know, maybe I could be called out on that, but I'm saying what's made into an issue is the fact that a Jordan Peterson get up and has opinions, and instead of debating them and having these civil discourse things which would be interesting in solving today's problems, you get the demonization and the delegitimization of the opposing side.
Sure, and
you get people calling them Nazis and transphobes and homophobes. That all comes from that comes from a certain outlook on things. That your narrative is not just incorrect or misguided; it's evil and wrong.
And that
could be self-corrected. If you see Turning Point USA wanting to have debates, Ben Shapiro debating Anna Kasparian in the Chamber of Commerce. So I have found that if you look at the landscape, maybe I'm biased, I'll be first to admit it, but you see one side willing to engage the other based on merits and ideas, and the other side only willing to ad hominem attack.
Sure. So, but then instead of Jordan Peterson being like, well, sucks for them, I'm going to still keep talking about interesting ideas.
He does.
I mean, he does a little bit, but he goes mostly to talk about how shitty the left is. And it's like, it's just boring. Like, okay, they don't like you. They don't want to listen to you. Like, so talk about something. Just keep talking. You don't have to fight back with them.
Because they're the mainstream. If the New York Times does a hit piece on you, you can't ignore it. You have to defend yourself and talk about it.
But
if you get prevented from speaking,
there's a threshold though where they've been sucked into the cycle of shittiness past just like, we have to acknowledge it and we have to fight it. There's a descent into just meaninglessness.
The mud.
Meaninglessness, yeah.
The mud.
They're not changing anyone's minds or changing or making interesting arguments or like.
I don't know if that's true. I think these books that they write are bestsellers and they're being and it's not getting covered because they don't want it to show that it's succeeding. But Joe Rogan got 2 million more subscribers during all the media hit pieces on him, and he continues to do his show.
So Joe Rogan does an amazing job. He's a great example. He's like, yeah, they tried to cancel me. I'll talk about it for 5 to 10 minutes here and there with people who bring it up, but I don't have to become Joe Rogan versus the New York Times now. Whereas Jordan Peterson is Jordan Peterson versus the libs.
That's not true.
Versus Marxism.
I saw him live. Most of it isn't that at all. I mean,
Okay, that's fair. Maybe not him. Maybe not. Maybe that's a bad example.
Ben
But a lot of people do.
Yes. Glenn
Like
Beck,
that guy
Mark
you
Levin,
like the
Steven Crowder.
No, who's the guy? He's like Jewish and gay, and he used to be liberal. Now he's right.
Dave Rubin.
Yeah, Dave Rubin. Like,
So,
what's his deal now?
Yeah, that is a sad story for me. That was like Kanye West fans who. Kanye started to get all Trump great. We're just like, I just can't. Like, they were like, he was once adored by everybody.
Yeah, what happened to him though?
Dave Rubin.
How did that happen?
He just fell off so hard in terms of like what his show used to be versus what his persona has become now.
Mm-hmm.
And he started for me as someone who really introduced me to so many intellectuals and thinkers and facilitated all these amazing conversations. And what started to happen was, I think, as opposed to being the vehicle for intellectualism to happen on a show, he sort of wanted to become the intellectual himself.
Interesting. Yeah.
And, when you do that without your ideas being so well-founded or understood or researched yet, as opposed to just being the facilitator, he started going out there and, had some, conversations that didn't go so well. But then, he signed with Blaze. And then it just started
What's Blaze?
Is like Glenn Beck's media company. And that became his distributor. And I'm still like forever grateful to him for all the stuff he did in the early days of his YouTube career when he was having all these incredible thinkers and conversations. And I'm a fan, but at the same time, I can easily see what I see. And I'm like, you're just getting up there and be like, oh, doing exactly what you're saying you were so bored of and you don't like. Oh, you know how they're going to get and just really just going after, and even during COVID, like criticizing people who were guests on his show and once allies of his and friends. And it devolved into just being all, stump for Trump kind of very generic kind of stuff. Yeah. And I was like, what is this, Dave? Don't do this.
Right.
I'm a fan. Don't do this.
Right.
But I couldn't disagree or deny it when I was seeing it. I was like, oh God.
I guess like
people have called it, the term is a grifter. You know what the term grifter means?
Yeah.
Where you're
that's
like just
people, just pandering.
Go with that tribe.
Yeah.
They go with and now starting to have opinions you think you're supposed to have before forming them.
Right.
You're like, okay, now I'm on this team. Here's what I'm gonna think about this. It's a Candace Owens kind of thing too. It's the same image I take with her where she's like, so let's talk, it's all the predictable stuff.
I guess I'm obviously.
But in the Elon Musk thing, I just like the idea that at least it is finally a possible new course to be set.
Totally right. So I'm obviously very worked about this. I think maybe what bothers me is like the Ben Shapiro's and everyone, they got what they wanted. And their response was like, instead of being like, all right, now we can finally stop making our case, they just double down on their case. You know what I mean? Like,
you don't think they have a right to be a little angry for all the years of shadow banning and demonization and shutting down and being called all these things? I mean, I think they can have their moments.
They've been angry. They've said it. They've said it all before. But it's not just going to be a moment. This thing's going to go on for months and months and years of hey, I'm gonna not just tweet about ivermectin, then I'm gonna tweet that I can tweet about ivermectin. That's gonna be the thing now. Like, hey, I bet Twitter's not gonna shut this down. It's just like I don't know. I think it exposes a lot. Like they need the fight as much as anybody else. And I think you'll see that now. I think you'll see a lot of that now.
Interesting.
They're gonna be able to say whatever they want, and they're still gonna find ways to like. Well, here's what the little bit I can't say. I'm gonna start. Yeah, like Elon Musk isn't doing enough, and I don't know, man. That's just like I was very disheartened by the whole thing.
You're not excited by it at all? That maybe it'll get better?
I don't know why people think Elon Musk
we talked about this
is much more than like a provocateur.
Potential.
Yeah, so
in the early days, we used to talk about how you couldn't say Wuhan lab leak on Facebook and you get shut down.
It's exciting, but
the fact that could possibly be over or behind us is a good thing.
He's never run a media company. I don't know why anyone thinks they know what he's gonna do.
I'm saying it's all potential right now. So that's what the excitement is. I'm not jumping for just saying he's gonna save the day necessarily, but he has been publicly advocating free speech and semi-libertarian principles for a long time in interviews. All this anti-billionaire BS, I don't understand. You think it's not like he's like an open book where we don't know what he stands for. He does have positions on things, and he has spoken very strongly for free speech.
Yeah.
So that gives you some inkling that there may be some hope for a better discourse and a better medium in which we can engage without fear of saying the wrong thing. It's almost like the final punch back against the whole COVID era where opinions were deemed, were deemed, what's the word?
inadmissible.
Yes,
not
that whole
allowed to
thing.
be, yeah.
You know, they
Yeah.
must be
No,
corrected.
it's cool. It
that
does.
whole thing. It's like this is finally. It's finally everybody coming out against that. Like, oh, we can be normal again. We can just talk like
it
people.
does feel like we were the lucky ones who got to wake up in the dimension where the sale went through.
Yeah.
And there's people who like woke up in the other one where like Twitter kicked him out.
What do you mean?
Like who would have thought he would actually buy Twitter?
That's
like
what
it
I'm
was supposed to be
saying.
a stunt, and now he actually bought it. No, it's obviously
So that's cool.
It's obviously very cool, but like I'm just not so. We still have a lot to learn about Elon Musk, I guess is all I want to say.
It's that gut of yours, Michael, that's always suspicious of
Yeah.
successful people in power and their motivations.
Yeah.
What reason do you have?
I think we should.
Who
I think
hurt
we
you?
should be.
Who hurt you?
I think we should be.
Who hurt you? Did you get into a car accident in a Tesla? Did it drive you into a lake as a young boy? And the Tesla.
Yeah, well, I mean, most people on the like left are saying like it's cool that he bought it, but like now it's in the hands of one really powerful billionaire. Like it could be
I don't even
awesome.
know if it is. I still think there is.
Could be
other
awesome. Could
people.
not be. No, there's not. He bought it.
He bought.
He bought all the shares.
Now, that's pretty
It's
crazy.
his.
You have to
I
say what
think.
you wanted. We don't know him. He's one of the most remarkable human beings
It's freaking
on
awesome,
Earth
yeah.
that's ever existed.
Yeah.
This guy.
Yeah.
I mean, Jordan Peterson once talked about it, right? He's like, I mean, look at him. You know, first he built a rocket, you know, and then he put a car on top of the rocket and fired it into bloody space. I mean, who does that?
Yeah, he's cool as hell. He's what I think people wish Mark Zuckerberg were.
Yeah,
Like just a cool dude.
Did you see what he like tweeted about the pregnant emoji next to Bill Gates?
Yeah.
He said, if you want to lose,
That was mean. I as a fellow pregnant man,
You don't have a boik like that. But I'm just like, it makes you just wonder, like, is this real?
Yeah.
This person
But-
is
but-
the most interesting man in the world.
But that's what makes me kind of skeptical. That's what makes me skeptical of like he pulls these stunts that make him seem not so serious. So I don't know. Like
So there's an old tweet in
I just don't
2017. It's
know.
like, okay, if you're so unhappy with Twitter, why don't you buy it? He goes, how much is it? How is somebody who claims to be on the spectrum have that good, sharp?
because he's got a team. Remember?
No, somebody said that. No,
I said that.
He
got
tweets
a team of
himself. I
writers.
think he tweets himself. Come on.
I wonder why no one was talking about how he got divorced and then 6 months later bought Twitter.
I think that's divorced a long time ago.
To Grimes. I think no, I don't think they had a baby. Like
Grimes, as in the artist.
yeah, that was his wife. They had a baby together.
XR.
Yeah. And then like it seems like I don't know if they're connected, but it's kind of like
I wonder if
It's kind of a
there's
strange
I wonder if
thing.
there's like a recording. Oh yeah, Elon, why don't you just go? Why don't you go buy Twitter,
Yeah.
asshole?
exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
think I'll
So
do
who
that.
I just don't know. Who knows if he's gonna wake up in 6 months and be like, I'm no longer starting companies on Earth.
I understand
Yeah.
that, but his track record is pretty good
For
success.
see that,
Successful companies and impactful companies.
yeah.
Didn't he invent PayPal?
He's good. He's a good engineer, and he's
What
he's
does
great
Elon
at-
have to do, Michael, for you to be like pretty good?
I'm sure he can. He
You're
can
just like,
still.
I don't know.
It's a new challenge, and he'll probably rise up to it. But I think he's gonna the challenge he's facing, like you said, is a challenge everyone else faces of like how do you properly moderate this thing? And his idea is an edit button.
If
He has
Elon,
no ideas. He hasn't said a single idea.
if Elon Musk was a friend of yours,
Yeah.
close friend that you
Yeah.
knew all these years, and he was only trying to impress you, that's all he lived to do,
Mhm.
and he started PayPal and Venmo,
Uh,
became a multi-billionaire doing that. Then he started Tesla, which everyone said would flop, and it's doing very successfully.
Yeah.
Well, and a successful new car company. He invented a new car. Then he built a rocket that went into space and landed reusable that NASA said for years could never be done, and he did it.
mhm,
That was like the fourth thing, SpaceX.
mhm.
And then came to you and said, I think I'm going to try my hand at Twitter, a media company. Would you go, eh? And we'll see. I mean, what have you done, really? Because that's what you sound like.
It's a little bit like
You're just like going, I don't know. I mean, what does the man have to do?
start another media organization. We don't know if he can run a media organization.
I'm just saying, if you follow the history,
I would-
he's proven time and again in multiple industries
Yeah.
to crush. And you're like, if Elon Musk can't impress you and
Yeah.
give you faith that it might work out well, or that the odds that it will be successful are more than not,
Yeah.
nothing else will. The man's seemingly superhuman. So yeah, I'm not even worried. I'm just saying by the track record, it's wild what the guy's done in life.
Yeah.
We'll end it at that.
I think it's the accent.
Yeah, it's also the alpha. That part's weird. That part's
All right.
very weird.
Well, we'll see next week where if it's saved yet.
Yeah.
Bum bum.
Yeah. We'll take it at that. That's
Yeah.
episode 27. Nothing impresses Michael ever. Elon Musk can't build a multi-billion-dollar company across the board in several industries and still gets an But we have almost 300 followers.
Hey, yeah.
So, beat that, Elon.
That's something.